The throne room of the Kael'zer Empire stretched wider than a football stadium, its obsidian pillars carved from the bones of conquered worlds. Banners of 17 defeated civilizations hung from the vaulted ceiling like trophies in a hunter's den. At the far end, upon a throne sculpted from compressed starlight and dark matter, sat Emperor Kael'zer, ruler of 400 solar systems, destroyer of the Athrani Collective, and the most feared being in the known galaxy. And today, he was laughing. Not quietly. Not diplomatically. He was laughing, that deep, rumbling sound that made the crystalline floor vibrate and sent his court of alien nobles into echoing fits of amusement. The cause of this laughter stood chained at the center of the room. General Elias Ward, 67 years old. Former commander of humanity's 3rd Combined Fleet. Captured 3 days ago when his ship, the Relentless, had been ambushed in the Vega corridor. He didn't look like much. Elias was a short man, barely 5 feet 10 inches, which among the towering Kalzori nobles made him appear almost childlike. His gray hair was cut military short. His face was weathered by decades of service, carved deep with wrinkles around the eyes and mouth. His uniform was torn at the shoulder. A cut above his left eyebrow had dried into a dark crust. His hands, shackled in energy restraints that could hold a Vreethian war beast, were folded calmly in front of him. He was not trembling. That, somehow, irritated Emperor Kael'zer most of all. So, the Emperor said, his translator implant rendering the words into perfect English, a deliberate choice, a show that he'd bothered to learn the language of prey. This is the great human general. The one they call the Iron Wolf of Vega. More laughter from the court. He looks like something I'd find beneath my boot, called out Commodore Drex, a 7-foot reptilian noble with golden scales and 3 rows of teeth. These are the beings who dared send a declaration of resistance to the Empire? Resistance. Emperor Kael'zer tasted the word like it amused him. They've held Proxima Station for 6 months. 6 months. Against my 3rd Armada. He leaned forward on his throne, his 4 luminous eyes narrowing. Old man. Do you understand what is about to happen? In 72 hours, I am sending 140 warships to reduce your Proxima Station to atoms. Your species' last military holdout. Gone. Elias said nothing. Kael'zer continued. I wanted to see you first. To understand, what manner of creature resists the inevitable? He gestured to the banners above. The Athrani resisted. They had 12 billion soldiers and a war machine 3,000 years old. They lasted 4 months. The Solen Confederation, 800 years of civilization, collapsed in 11 weeks. He paused. Humanity has been fighting for 2 years. I confess. It has been mildly inconvenient. That drew laughter again. So speak, old wolf. Say something. Beg, threaten, philosophize, entertain me before I end your species. Elias Ward slowly raised his head. His eyes, gray, steady, and completely, utterly calm, moved across the throne room. He looked at the banners. He looked at the nobles. He looked at the Emperor. Then he spoke, his voice quiet but carrying across the vast chamber with the ease of a man used to being heard over the sound of artillery. You've been counting wrong, Elias said. Kael'zer blinked. What? You said 2 years. Elias's voice was unhurried. You're counting from when we filed the formal declaration. That's not when we started. He paused. We've been at war with things like you for 100,000 years. The laughter in the room went quiet. Elias continued, his shackled hands still folded. Before we had cities, we fought cave lions, mammoths, and diseases that should have killed every last one of us. Then we fought each other, empires, crusades, world wars, cold wars. We invented weapons that could end our own planet and chose not to use them, not because we couldn't, but because we wanted to survive the morning after. He let that sit. Every single thing that has ever tried to make humanity extinct, plague, famine, ice ages, asteroid strikes, is gone. And we're still here. Emperor Kael'zer's expression had shifted. Not to fear, not yet, but to something sharper. Attention. You have 140 warships, Elias said. I know. We've been watching them assemble at Nexus Point for 3 weeks. He looked up at Kael'zer directly. I was captured on purpose. The room went absolutely still. My ship, the Relentless, carried outdated tactical logs. Correct ship names, wrong coordinates. Wrong fleet positions. Wrong defense formations. Elias tilted his head slightly. Every flag officer in human space knew about this mission. I volunteered. I'm 67 years old. I've had a good run. He paused. But I needed to be here. In this room. For this conversation. You're lying, Commodore Drex snarled, but his scales had gone pale. I'm not, Elias said simply. Inapproximately, he glanced down at nothing, as if checking a watch he wasn't wearing, a gesture so casual it was almost insulting. 40 minutes. Your fleet at Nexus Point is going to receive an emergency distress signal from what will appear to be a crippled Imperial cargo hauler. Your Admiral Vreth will move to investigate, because the hauler's ID codes are genuine. We captured that ship 8 weeks ago and cracked your authentication protocols. He looked back up at Kael'zer. When your fleet moves, they'll enter the Nexus Corridor, which is currently seeded with 612 human-designed graviton mines, a technology, I'll note, we developed specifically to counter your shield harmonics. Total silence. 612, Elias repeated, as if he found the number satisfying. Each one calibrated to the resonance frequency of Kalzori hull plating. Your ships will lose shields in sequence. And waiting at the corridor exit, because we knew exactly where your fleet would run, are 4 of our Leviathan-class carriers. He paused. You've never seen a Leviathan class. We built them in the asteroid belt, behind the debris field of the moons you destroyed in Year 1. We've been building for 18 months. Emperor Kael'zer had risen slowly from his throne without realizing it. This isn't a war for us, Your Majesty, Elias said, his voice dropping quieter, which somehow made it more dangerous. You came to this galaxy expecting conquest. You found humans. And here is what you need to understand about us, what every single species that has ever faced us has learned too late. He stepped forward, the energy restraints humming with strain. We do not fight to survive. We fight to win. And when we decide to win, we burn the entire sky to do it. We don't retreat and recover. We learn. Every weapon you used against us in Year 1, we studied, reverse-engineered, and built countermeasures before Year 2. Every tactic, every advantage you had when this started? He shook his head slowly. Gone. Kael'zer found his voice. You're one man. In chains. In my throne room. I'm a message, Elias said. He reached up, and the energy restraints fell away. Not broken. Unlocked. From the inside. His hands had been working the release mechanism for the past 4 minutes, fingers moving in the precise sequence that a human engineer named Dr. Suyun Park had mapped from a stolen Imperial restraint manual 9 months ago. Every guard in the room raised a weapon. Elias didn't move. He just looked at the Emperor. You wanted to see what kind of creature resists the inevitable, he said. Now you know. We're the kind that turns inevitable into opportunity. He straightened his torn uniform collar with both hands. You want war? We already gave you one. You just didn't realize it yet. From somewhere deep in the palace, an alarm began to wail. Emperor Kael'zer looked at his communication officer. The officer's face was the color of ash. Nexus Point Fleet, Your Majesty, the officer whispered. There, they've entered the corridor. Admiral Vreth is reporting. The communication cut to static. For the first time in 400 years of conquest, Emperor Kael'zar of the Kalzori Empire felt something unfamiliar settle into his chest. It took him a long moment to identify it. Fear. Elias Ward, General, 3rd Combined Fleet of Humanity, stood in the center of the throne room, surrounded by 100 weapons, utterly calm. "You should probably start thinking about terms," he said quietly. "We're reasonable people." A small, weathered smile crossed his face. "When we want to be." In the end, the Kalzori Empire sued for peace in 31 days. The history books of 17 civilizations would later record the same question: how did humanity defeat a 400-system empire in 2 years? The answer was always the same. They never stopped being human.